You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.
That stadium is going to be rocking, and heaven help whoever walks in there to play us.
Sustained effort and violence, you play your ass off.
You're watching the Pirate Preview on The Sports Objective. Join us every Tuesday night on YouTube Live as we're joined by beat writers and other media members as we take a look at what lies ahead for the Pirates. Now, here are the guys.
It is a first down. Pirates.
All right, welcome in to the Pirate Preview. Pirates hosting Charlotte this Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock. And, of course, that's going to be at Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium on ESPN Plus, and, of course, on Playfly Sports. And that'll be for...
Playfly?
Yeah.
That was for Bubba.
Oh, okay.
In a hush. Fell over the show.
Bubba, I thought you were going to bust out laughing.
Anyway, homecoming this Saturday, obviously, and 1-5 East Carolina against 1-5 Charlotte. And Kyle from the Grange, somebody's got to win.
Well, that's what you think. I'm not convinced either team is going to win.
I was going to end it on a tie.
Yeah, well, I don't know that you can't do that anymore. But
I know, I'm joking.
I was listening to the open there and heard the other John Moore do the old first down Pirates. I remember when we used to get first down, so that was pretty neat. Somebody's got to win, and hopefully it better be us. That's all I'm gonna say.
What's up, Bubba Rosenbaum?
Yeah, if you're wanting to see offensive football, it's probably the wrong game to.
No, it'll be pretty offensive.
Yeah, it's probably the wrong game to watch, but we just whatever it takes, we gotta find a way to get it done.
Hey,
it will definitely be offensive football this Saturday.
By the way, the Pirate Preview, Matt Simmons, is brought to you by Tussie deodorant.
Absolutely. You know, guys, you look at stylish coaches throughout the years. You know, you go back to Hank Stram with the suit, and you go Tom Landry with the suit and the fedora.
Yes, sir.
You think of Pat Riley with the nicest, most expensive suit possible on the sidelines. And then, you know, you have Kyle's boy, Biff Poggi. And Kyle, what are your thoughts on his attire?
It's great.
Biff Poggi looks like he just came in from washing the car. It was standing on the sideline.
It's pumping iron, man.
No, he just came in washing the car. I don't get it.
425 pounds.
No, it doesn't even look like that, dude. He shows his armpits on national TV.
It's nice.
I don't know. Look, Biff. A lot of our fans seem to like Biff from the press conference this week. They don't catch subtle jabs. Look, here's a little something for you. He said they didn't know. He said he didn't. You can't fly into Greenville. He didn't know if you could. That's why they're taking a bus. Yeah, of course you can take a charter plane from Charlotte to Greenville, and he knew it. He went to school.
You can take a commercial flight from Charlotte.
Yeah, he went to exactly. he went to Duke, ladies and gentlemen. So he's familiar with East Carolina. He also made the comment that our colors were purple and black. He said all their fans were purple and black, not purple and gold. He knows our colors. So I'm telling you, he's taking shots just like is it a rival? Oh, I hope we can be competitive. That's all BS. He thinks of as a rival. He's going to have the team all fired up, foaming at the mouth and ready to go. It's going to be their Super Bowl, and we better make it our Super Bowl because they're going to make it theirs, and we better match their intensity.
Absolutely, Matt. I was going to ask you that very question. I know that Charlotte's your favorite team, and who are you pulling for on Saturday afternoon? Are you kind of torn?
I'm slightly torn, you know.
And you like Biff Poggi?
But I'll tell you, here's the thing, right? So I have been very disparaging towards Charlotte for many years. And you guys know why. It's because they didn't earn their way here. I won't repeat myself. They didn't earn their way here. They're here because of their market. We get that. But right now, I can't say a word because East Carolina is in no position to look down on anybody, even
No,
Charlotte.
we better be ready. We shouldn't be
you're right.
we better but we better win. We better protect our house.
Well,
Yep.
I'll tell you, when you take a look at this team, some of the things they've done defensively this year are very impressive.
Oh, they got a great defense.
Yeah, I mean, this is the defense, and you combine that with our offense. This is not going to be an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. I see it as a pick'em game, guys. I really do, and I really think this is going to sound cliche, but I think in this game it makes sense. It's going to come down to one or two big plays, maybe a turnover.
Right.
Maybe a block punt. It's going to come down to one or two things.
I've been saying it all week. It's going to come down to turnovers.
Yeah, you're right. I agree wholeheartedly. And I'll tell you one thing, guys. My thought on this one is if we win the coin toss, I want to defer. I want to play the field position battle here, and kick off, try to get a stop, give your offense. If you can give your offense short fields, you have a chance to at least get some field goals, maybe punch one in, but. If we're having to drive the length of the field all night with this offense, it's going to be a tough game.
Congratulations, Matt. That's what Mike Houston likes to do.
This week, he might be right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer to, in my opinion, to make that decision to
Defer.
Yeah, to defer, of course, defer, but where we will be kicking off to start the game.
Let me ask you a question. I asked Andrew this last night, and he really didn't have an answer for it. I'll ask you guys. Charlotte, has got a good D line. They have been susceptible to the big play when people have scored on them. How do you get a big play out of this offense when we haven't been able to do it all year? What do you do? Do you throw deep? Do you try to get Hatfield on the outside, roll Garcia or Flynn out, and try to hit Josiah on some deep balls? Do you try to get some yak yards, set up some screens? How do you get explosion plays from our offense?
Matt, I was going to ask you and Bubba being a quarterback, but that very thing, Matt showed us how you can roll out Mason Garcia. He seems to be more comfortable and more accurate when you roll him out, especially to the right. And that very thing is we've got to throw deep balls. I mean, I don't understand why we can't throw deep balls, but that's something that we haven't done a lot this year. And you're right on the money, Kyle. I think
Andrew talked about last night, Bays. Talked about how we're not throwing as many inside slants this year, and that we could get some big plays off of that. But me and Dave had the same basic question for Matt, or for Matt and for Bubba. How do we create big plays against Charlotte, being that's what they're susceptible to?
Bubba, you could take that one first, and then I'm happy to jump in.
Yeah, you take a look at Charlotte. They've been pretty good against the run. So I do think we'll have to make some plays in the passing game. You look at Navy, obviously a little bit different situation as far as that game was concerned. Even though Navy is functioning a little bit different than they have in the past, not the true or not as much of the triple flex bone attack, more out of the gun and so forth. But they did one of the two big plays they hit on the 49ers in the second half in that 14-0 victory was a big passing play. And so it seems like I'm trying to recall exactly, but I want to say it was off of play action, as you would probably guess, with it being Navy. And I want to say it was a post route. So that's something that, hopefully Mason will be able to maybe connect with a Josiah Hatfield or Chase Sowell off of play action on something similar. And we've talked about, obviously Mason throws the ball pretty well on the run, probably even better than he does setting his feet, there in the pocket. So I would really like to see us do some true sprint out in addition to half roll and move in the pocket, because you get 6'5", 250-pound Mason Garcia attacking the line of scrimmage, where he's got a comeback, a corner, and a flat route, or a curl wheel flat, or whatever the combination is. And obviously that another option would be for him to pull it down and run it. And if the defense, depending on how they go about defending it, if they're not coming up, if he's pressing the line and they're staying back in pass coverage, then go ahead and get what you can get. And it simplifies what he has to read as well.
I heard Matt earlier with Jay on Sonny and Semenza say that you seem to think, like Andrew Bay said last night, you seem to think Garcia is going to be the guy this Saturday. Bubba, do you think the same thing? Do you think we're going to see Garcia, or do you think we'll see Flynn, or both?
I think this may be one of those situations you heard Coach Houston reference. I believe it was in the weekly press conference. But at some point, Coach Houston said, we've taken all sorts of different approaches. You went into some games saying this is going to be Alex's game, kind of like the Rice game. And then other games, it was more Mason. And then some, you kind of like last week against SMU, you went in with Alex as the starter, but Mason knowing that he was going to play the third series. I think this may be one of those games where it's Mason's game.
Alex starts.
And then, I think it will be Mason's game probably, but then at some point we'll probably see Alex, but we shall see.
Yeah, I think, like I said earlier in the week, I mean, a lot of times it's week to week with quarterbacks, but in this case, it's almost quarter to quarter. And, if Mason, I would start Mason Garcia this week. I would. I think in this situation, in this matchup, he gives you the best chance to win. But if he comes out and he's 1 for 9 and he's missing reads and he's not throwing the ball down the field, I wouldn't hesitate to go to Flynn. But so you could see both. I think it's going to be dependent on how they play. But to get back, I mean, some of the things, Kyle, like your question about big plays, what can we do to big plays? My feeling on big plays is you early in the game, you probe and you're watching how safeties react and how the corners react. You might find somebody, you might identify that guy that gets a little jumpy and, will try to rush the line of scrimmage and bite on play action. And, one of the things I really want to see that I think we haven't run this year is when we run the zone run to the boundary, which we love to do. I want to see some set that up once or twice and then run some boot action off of that where you come back the other way and maybe you drag the tight end across the field. You can get a big play that way. There are things you can do. I mean, how about you run speed option, right? And if you get your running back in space, how about you pull him up and take a shot like a halfback option? I mean, there's so many things you could do creatively, but if you can identify a safety or a corner that's getting a little nosy, at that point you want to target that guy and specifically try to find something to get downfield on him.
No doubt. I'll tell you what, guys, and I had a question for you guys as far as I agree 1,000% with Mason. Let's let Mason be Mason. And what I mean by that is, when people used to always say with Holton, Mason is a playmaker. We have a lot of playmakers. Let the playmakers make plays. I know that sounds so cliche and so simple and easy, but I really believe that if we let our guys make plays, then they will make plays. And I really do. I think there you go. Michelle says, preach Coach Semenza. I agree with you 1,000% there, Shell. But guys, you got to check this out. You won't believe this. But John Gast said that he actually, one of his coaches was Biff Poggi in high school. How about that?
And for our listeners, many obviously realize who John Gast is, but for maybe younger listeners or those who may not follow baseball as closely, John Gast was a Pirate third baseman back in the Coach O era.
Did he dress like that in high school?
He said he didn't. He wore hoodies and bow ties a couple times.
Yeah,
I'm serious. I'm not making
so what is he like? I think he's a smart guy who tries to come across as a meathead, but he's actually a smart guy. Is my perception right? Well, we're going to have to talk while we wait for the answer.
I don't. I think he's definitely a smart guy.
The cast is to John Gass. Is to John Gass, our listener. I'm asking him what he thinks. If he thinks Poggi, is actually a smart guy and he tries to come across as a meathead.
Yeah, he says very smart.
Yeah, that's kind of what I took. That's kind of what I got from him. So yeah, I don't trust him. He's sneaky smart, and that bothers me. I don't like that. He tries to portray one image when he's actually something else. He went to Duke, for crying out loud. So this game's scary, man. Because I'm telling you, he's gonna have this guys fired up.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think that our guys will not be fired up. Do you, Matt? Like you said, I mean, these guys are hungry for a win, and I'm not saying we will win the game, but I don't think we're going to come out flat. I don't think that's our problem. I don't think it's a trap game, is what I'm saying. Like,
no, there ain't no such thing as a trap game for us this year.
I know. I'm just saying, it's not a situation where we already have this big winning record, and then, oh well, guys, we're playing Charlotte. Well, we're both 1-5, so it is homecoming. I think that maybe that will add a little incentive. I don't know if that people really care about that anymore. I do, but I don't. I mean, do players? Matt and Bubba, when you guys played, did homecoming fire you up, or you were just already fired up, right? Because you're playing football?
It never, honestly, for me, I just love to play football. And
okay.
I was pretty much fired up every week. But I mean, maybe it's a little extra motivation for some players, depending on their personality. I just think if you're a player on this team, you can't overlook anyone. And because we're just not good enough this year to do that. You're going to have to bring it every week. I don't care if we're playing, a Division II school. I mean, we're just not at that point right now. You can't overlook anybody. So I'd be shocked if we came out and weren't ready to go. But I'll say this. I would love to see us, for once, take an early lead, get a quick touchdown, and play with a little momentum on our side.
Now, Matt, talk about it from this standpoint. Coach Houston in his weekly press conference, when asked about homecoming and everything surrounding homecoming with the parades and pep rallies, et cetera, that he said, we just have to keep the main thing, and that's getting a win for the Pirates, and then everything surrounding the game, that's for the fans. And obviously, I'm sure you heard that as a player multiple times, as did I. But what do you recall from some of those homecoming games? I guess 4 or 5 games that you had in your Pirate career, and the message that Coach Logan had for you guys.
I mean, the message was always pretty clear, and that was, take care of business on the field. When you step between the lines, you need to be ready to go. And all that other stuff that goes on, things that go on in the media, things that go on in the stands,
parades, after parties.
Yeah,
B-Pays has after parties he wants everyone to come to.
Now, I'll say this: after wins, there was nothing better than a good after party, and I look forward to those. But and we had many of those. But yeah, I mean, really, the challenge is, as a player, when you step between the lines, you need to be ready to go. And I think that Logan was pretty consistent with that. It was all about the performance and about winning.
Let me ask Matt and Bubba, you both this from the other perspective. Did you guys look at it as motivation when somebody scheduled you for homecoming? I know that's blown out of proportion. Lots of times homecoming is just a date. People, like last year, we played Memphis for homecoming, and this year we're playing Charlotte. It's around the same date. We always play our homecoming game in the middle of October. But
right.
Did you guys, Matt, Bubba, did you guys look at it as motivation if somebody had y'all scheduled for homecoming? On the road, I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Because obviously, not always, but you occasionally see some homecoming games scheduled. Like, why in the world do they schedule them for homecoming? There's definitely that that perception, and more often than not, it's true that homecoming opponent, because you have all those alumni that maybe don't return to the other games, returning to campus, and you want to be able to put on a good show, and the best way to do that is having an inferior opponent.
Yeah, and definitely, like if somebody's scheduled for schedule you for homecoming, that would get your attention. And then you would also try to listen for quotes coming out of the other team during the week, maybe a quote from the coach or from the players. Like, I remember when we played Stanford in the Liberty Bowl, really got the feeling as a player that week that Stanford thought they were the superior team.
Oh yeah.
And they were, in my opinion, I thought they were disrespectful in terms of, like, they thought they were from the Pac-10, who's little old East Carolina. There were some comments during the week. So you definitely look for that stuff. I mean, anything to give you a little bit of an edge.
Well, we haven't given them any of that, thankfully. But I do wonder if Charlotte, if Poggi, obviously he's going to be using is an in-state school that's established. We're new to their conference. We need to win this game. I'm sure they're getting from all their alumni and fans how much they want to win this game and beat ECU. And then, I wonder if he's using the fact that we got them scheduled for homecoming. He tried to use the fact that they were picked last as motivation. They picked us last, and beating the podium. But they, I do wonder if he's using the homecoming thing to his players as motivation.
Hey, by the way, Kyle, John Gast, he was talking about he's totally duping people if they think he is anything but smart. He comes from tons of money, so I really don't think anything motivates him except winning. He has enough money that contracts and big market money isn't relevant to him personally. Knowing him, unless he's changed, but my guess is he hasn't changed.
Yep, that's exactly right. That whole image on the sideline of wearing a cutoff shirt, it's all a gimmick. And I knew it. I told you guys from the beginning, I said, this guy's either the biggest idiot in the world or he's a genius. I told y'all that. I said, there's no in between. And I was exactly right. I smelled it from a mile away. And it's not just his armpits I'm smelling from the cutoff shirts. He's a bullshit artist. And I'm not even saying the Tussie. Well, I might smell his Tussie. And I'm not even saying that as a put down, saying he's a bullshit artist. I'm complimenting him. But he don't fool me. You can fool some of the people some of the time. You can fool all the people some of the time. And you can fool all the people all the time. I just screwed that quote on the hell, but you can't fool me. I can fool myself, apparently. Yeah, I saw it from a mile away. He's a poser. And I mean that in a positive way. He's trying to put off this image that he's this meat-headed guy, but he's actually smart. And it concerns me a little bit, man. This concerns me a little bit. This whole situation with him and this game concerns me. We better win it. That's all I'm going to keep saying. I'll keep saying it repeatedly. We better win it.
And another thing to think about is how, Houston took the job with Charlotte. And then
they never officially took it.
I know that, but not officially, but it was pretty much his job. And there we go. Thank you, Bubba.
Tussie.
The Pirate Preview brought to you by Tussie Cream Deodorant, original fresh spice.
There you go. We were talking before the show about how Poggi has his armpits out all the time on the sidelines wearing the sleeveless shirts. And I said, I wonder if he wears Tussie. And none of the guys knew what Tussie was. And I explained to him it was a deodorant.
Name in high school.
Yeah, no. I explained to him it was a deodorant. They'd never heard of it.
Bubba said, "What the hell is Tussie?"
Yeah, I'm apparently
baby. Where's my Tussie?
Matt, let me. I got to point this out, Matt. You do the worst Southern accent for somebody who played football in the South. Your Southern accent sucks.
You like Kevin Costner or
because I grew up in New Jersey. I mean, what do you want?
What do you expect?
Well, I can do a Jersey accent. So,
all right, let's hear it.
All right, keep talking a little bit. Talk a little bit.
All right, Kyle, let's go to the Italian restaurant. Let's get some mozzarella and some chicken parmesan.
Let's get some mozzarella, some chicken parmesan. Hey, you know what I'm saying? I'm Johnny Bag of Donuts over there at the docks. You know what I mean? I gotta go over there and get a. I gotta go to the docks and cut off, knock your thumbs off there. You know what I mean? Yeah, some shit like that. I don't know.
It's like
I'm Kyle from the Bronx.
I'll work on my Southern accent. I got to work on it.
It's
Dan
horrible.
Aykroyd in Driving Miss Daisy said, "Oh, mama."
Oh, Dan Aykroyd's Southern accent was god awful. Good Lord.
Matt Simmons is doing a really good Dan Aykroyd for us right now. or Clint Kevin Costner, remember him? Doing a Southern accent, and it's definitely his English accent was god awful. But
the best people at doing Southern accents and aren't Southerners are typically Irish people or English people.
yeah,
They always can do Southern accents spot on.
that is correct, sir.
Yeah. The dude from The Walking Dead, the lead character, I've since so long since Matt, you watched The Walking Dead?
Oh yeah.
What was Andrew? What's his name? What was the lead guy's name?
Oh my God.
Not even the actor, just the character. I think the actor was Andrew something. The lead character, whatever his name was, the cop.
I cannot think of it.
He really wasn't from Georgia. He's from Ireland.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
What
He
about
was in a
Rick
movie-
Grimes? Rick Grimes.
I'm going to give the best Southern accent of all time, Vivian Lee, with Scarlett from Gone with the Wind, Scarlett O'Hara. I think she's by far the best. I think she's by far the best Southern accent, considering that she was from England.
Well, I think what it is if you know anything about dialect, and I actually I like this kind of stuff, is the Southern accents are actually, the Virginia Tidewater accent is really just a slowed down English accent, and then Southern accents. You got the mountain, the Western North Carolina accent derived from a Scottish accent, and our accents are actually more close to our ancestors than from other parts of the country.
That is correct, and it's funny, but but Matt, like with the northern accents, from Jersey and Connecticut,
it's more of an Italian. They sound more similar to Italians. If you listen to an Italian talk, then you listen to somebody from Jersey or New York, even if they're not from Italian descent, the accent more closely resembles the way somebody from Italy sounds naturally.
Well, what's really interesting about the Northeast, since we're on this topic, I can spot which borough of New York somebody is from. So if somebody's from Queens, Manhattan, especially Staten,
by their ethnicity,
not by their by the
dialect.
By the dialect.
Okay.
Somebody
Jersey's
from
different
South Jersey, South Jersey, Philly, very different. They have a totally different dialect. It's funny. Every 50 miles or so, you go in the Northeast, you could have a totally different accent.
It ain't just the Northeast. North Carolina's the same way. I mean, it's.
And another thing with
that's true, because Dave Richmond does not
have an accent,
Southern accent at all. But Kyle, you do have a strong. So there's your point.
Well, who do you think has a stronger Southern accent, me or Bubba?
You both have a pretty strong accent.
Different. Now I can make mine go away. I don't know if Bubba can.
Well, Bubba,
Probably not.
See, I can talk very proper like this the whole rest of the episode and sound like a complete asshole without any kind of distinct accent, but then it lacks personality.
What did Shell say? Can you guys throw that back up there? I missed that.
Yeah. Jamaica, Queens, for sure. I lived in Philly for 15 years.
In West Philadelphia, Shell was born and raised. On the playground is where he spent most of his days. Chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool while shooting some b-ball outside of the school.
He said South Philly is very different from Northeast Philly.
Yeah. There it is. Exactly.
South Philly, the home of the infamous ECW Arena. The only other person.
By the way, did you guys see, speaking of Philadelphia, did you see Burt Young, who played in the Rocky movies? So Rocky's brother, 83 today. So rest in peace, Burt Young. You were awesome.
What was his damn name in those movies? It was Rocky's brother-in-law.
Paulie.
Yeah, of course, brother-in-law. Yeah, Paulie.
What's interesting about him when you research his life a little bit, he was actually a boxer when he was young.
I can believe that.
He was a real he was a tough guy. I mean, he was a legit tough guy.
I can believe that.
Yeah, he looks like it. Yeah.
One of his best roles, since we're way off topic tonight, you think Rocky with him. He was in Amityville Horror 2.
Oh, wow.
Amityville Horror 2, he played the dad, the possession, where the brother got possessed and then wanted to have sex with his sister.
Exactly. Yeah, that movie is warped. That movie is crazy.
It is. It's one of my favorite Amityville Horror movies. I loved it as a kid. I don't know what that says about me, but
well, it's underrated. Not a lot of people talk about it. He was the dad. He was like a complete.
He was an asshole. Yeah,
he was an asshole. Yeah,
that's one of the good things the son does when he's possessed is beat the shit out of him.
I loved him where he played the bodyguard in Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield. He played Lou, remember like that, and he was like a tough guy.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Now I want to watch Amityville too. I have not seen that movie in 30 years, probably.
Thank you, Craig. He said Kyle sounds like he's talking about Deliverance.
No. That was nobody wanted to have sex with his sister in Deliverance. They wanted to. That was some hillbillies that wanted to molest the Warren Beatty and Burt Reynolds.
Squeal like a pig.
Yeah.
You have a pretty mouth.
Yeah, that's a great movie. I haven't seen that in a long time either.
Kyle, go back and watch Amityville 2. That movie holds up pretty well. And
I need to. That was my favorite of the original is good, but there's something about the original that freaks me out. The whole Amityville series is freaky, man. But the second one was my favorite for whatever reason. I was obsessed.
Great.
Look, I was obsessed with horror movies from the time I was probably 6 years old up until about 2020, and then I kind of lost interest when COVID hit. Then I got cancer, so I didn't want to watch anything about death. Maybe I need to get back into them. It's October. It's spooky season.
All right, let's go around the horn real quick, and we'll get back. I promise. What I'm gonna give you rapid fire one question: favorite horror movie or character all time? Who wants to take it?
A character from horror movie: Michael Myers. Favorite Halloween franchise: Halloween. Favorite individual horror movie? God, it's hard to say, but there's a lot of good ones.
All right, Joe Powell says Jason, so he's going Friday the 13th. But I'm definitely Michael Myers. He scares the daylights out of me. Jason doesn't scare me, but Michael Myers scares the daylights, and definitely Halloween.
Matt, you're
the original
huge,
Halloween.
You're a huge horror movie fan. What do you got?
Dula, I love horror movies. My favorite horror movie of all time is The Shining. The Shining.
Oh, great movie. It's too long though.
It's a great. I love every second.
Oh my God, that is great.
I'm a big Stanley Kubrick fan, and that was
amazing.
I mean, there was nobody like Stanley Kubrick.
Did you like the Fox made-for-television version that Stephen King liked better?
I hated it. I absolutely hated it.
Stephen King didn't like Stanley Kubrick's interpretation of his book, so that's why he had Fox make that movie. Did you realize that?
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Yes, Stephen King, he bashed Kubrick's version of that movie forever. He still does.
Here's Johnny.
I mean, that movie it's terrifying, and it's great. It holds up.
Definitely. Shelley Duvall, she was also in it.
Shelley Duvall, they torture her during. If you ever watched the documentary on that movie, Stanley Kubrick nearly drove her to like madness. He was so hard on her. He said he did it to get the most out of her ability as an actress, but man, he was tough on her.
Wow.
And supposedly she had like a nervous breakdown on the set. It was crazy. If you watch the documentary on the making of
now that makes me want to watch the documentary now.
It's really good.
Bubba doesn't probably. I doubt Bubba's going to contribute. Bubba, do you have a favorite horror movie?
He said skip him.
Okay. I do want to mention there's a horror movie I love, and most people hate it. And I want to give Matt's opinion on it because I'm sure he's seen it because Matt watches more movies than all of us. And I cannot even think of the name of it right now. I remember the name. Darkness Falls. It was an early 2000 movie.
Oh yeah.
The Tooth Fairy was like this murderous monster that went around, and it sounds ridiculous, but I love that movie.
I forgot all about that movie. Here's Johnny.
Matt, have you seen Darkness Falls?
You know what? It doesn't ring a bell, honestly.
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out though.
I got another one. We're going to get back on Charlotte, but where do you guys stand on the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise?
It's okay. I mean,
I'm not a big fan of combining horror with Christmas. Something about it just seems.
I agree, Matt. 1,000%.
You
don't watch it at Christmas time. Yeah, I never watched it, but as a kid, I loved those movies, particularly the first two. I would watch the first two over and over again.
Craig says his vote is for Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Okay. Good sci-fi. I would call that more sci-fi.
That's sci-fi, yeah, and definitely B-rated. One of those movies is so bad it's good, like Mystery Science 3000 stuff. But let's get back to hopefully. Well, let me just say this.
I think we kind of indirectly, Dave, answered, unintentionally Craig's question here. Am I the only one on the brink of apathy for the remainder of this football season? I'm sad I feel this way. So we're sitting
here
we are in mid to late October, and instead of previewing the East Carolina Charlotte game, we're talking horror movies.
Well,
I'm
it is
actually
their
fired up. I'm
Halloween.
actually fired up for the Charlotte game, Greg. I'm apathy has not set in. I want this game as much as I've wanted any game in a long time.
Yep.
If we lose this game, all hell's going to break loose. Everybody's going to want Houston. I don't want that. Look, I'm going to be very clear. If we go 1-11, I think we're going to have to make a change up top. I don't want that to happen. I believe Houston can get this fixed with the right hires and working the portal, but we can't lose to Charlotte. We've got to win this football game.
Must win. It's a must win.
Your avatar's gone again, Matt. But
Yeah.
we'll just do without it the rest of the show.
I'm going to sign in from my phone. I don't know what's going on with that, but
And,
this is a must win, guys. Listen, if you think the noise is loud now, well, you guys know this. Everybody knows this.
Yeah.
If we were to lose this game at home, I can't even imagine the pressure that's going to come down next week. I mean, so fingers crossed that doesn't happen.
By the way, Paige says, did anyone see the East Carolinian article? And no, Paige, what was? Let us know about that. So I'm not familiar.
Well, there's no telling. The East Carolinian has done some goofy stuff over the years, like putting the streaker on the cover of the paper fully naked. So they've done some goofy things. So there's no telling what the article said. I'm curious to know what it said, Pace.
No doubt. And, Charlotte is you guys are absolutely right. Charlotte is a team that we should not. And that would be, here's another thing for the fan base to keep in mind. If we lose on Saturday, we've lost to both Appalachian State and Charlotte.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you can't do that. If we lose to Charlotte, people are going to say we're the worst team in the state, and there'll be no arguing it as far as the FBS level.
Pace said, ask for Donnie K to resign or John Gilbert to step in and make Mike Houston fire him.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. Student papers do stuff like that. I think the students are too short-sighted. I don't know that that's the answer.
No, because they don't understand. What people have to understand is if you think that Mike Houston is not involved in, I know that he's a defensive coach. We all agree. But if you don't think that he has any say in the offense, you're crazy.
No, he does. He does. But more to that, I wouldn't be against letting Shane Montgomery take over play calling the rest of the year, honestly. But look, everybody needs to not worry about if Donnie Kirkpatrick is going to be back next year. Donnie Kirkpatrick will not be offensive coordinator next year. I'll go ahead and say that confidently. And I have no insider information, no intel. I just have a brain that functions. Donnie Kirkpatrick will not be the offensive coordinator next year. Guaranteed.
Shell's saying, and he lives in Charlotte, as you know. They're all saying we are soft and we don't have smart people running the program.
Well, you tell everybody. First of all, we ain't soft, particularly on defense.
No.
And
I hope they think that. I hope they think that. That's great.
You tell all you people in Charlotte that. Man, don't even get me started. Those little big city queers. You tell them come on down to LaGrange and tell that to my face.
Charlotte should be fortunate. They're catching us
at the right time.
From their perspective, from the right time. I mean, they're getting. I'm going to quote Deion Sanders. What was the thing he said the other day? This is the best chance you'll ever have to get me. Right. East Carolina is only going to get better from here. This is clearly a down year. So if they're going to get us, it better be now.
Yeah, I don't look.
I thought the same thing, Matt. That's a great point. I thought the same thing that we're going to improve. This is like a rebuilding year. But the other thing, I have a question for you guys that hit me the other day driving home, and I was saving it for the show tonight. I almost forgot. Getting old here. But do you guys think when we always talk about the production and the offense and defense and all that, do you think these guys, a lot of these guys were on the team, but they didn't have to worry about the outcome of the game because they were standing on the sidelines? How hard is it, Matt and Bubba, to take a role where you're just standing there and you might get to play a play or two, but you don't really have to worry about the pressure's not on you because the other guys are older, the upperclassmen, guys with experience, and you get to play a play or two and you win the games. Well, now you are the dudes. How much pressure do you think it is now? Because in other words, fans don't understand how hard it is to win a football game, and they have never really been in the position to do that.
Well, you have to get into a rhythm as a player, and like when you just go out there for a play or two here and there, it's extremely difficult. It's especially on defense because you're trying to get comfortable. You're trying to learn tendencies. You're trying to read the quarterback and look for tendencies on the offensive line. Is a lineman heavy on his hands, meaning he's going to come forward and run block? Is he set back and you can read? Okay, I think a pass is coming here. So when you just come in sporadically, this is like one of the things when you rotate so much on defense, it can be really hard as a player. So the main thing is like when you come off the bench, and my first 2 years, I spent a lot of time playing special teams and coming off the bench. I was Morris Foreman's backup, so I wasn't playing much,
Right.
if any. It's hard, but you just have to get into a rhythm, and sometimes it takes a whole quarter before you can find it.
Yeah, and obviously defense hasn't been the problem. It's offense. And as far as, I don't know. I understand your question, Dave. I think it's more. I think it's a combination of things is the reason those guys aren't performing. We don't, and we're still not playing. Like right now, when you look at the receivers, we're still not playing enough receivers behind the guys we're starting. I don't know. I don't understand that philosophy. It's bothered me really ever since Houston's been here. While we don't rotate receivers more, and I think it's hurting us now, and I think it's going to hurt us more going forward because we're still not doing it. We're still not playing enough different guys at receiver.
Well, I'm just wondering, do you guys think Justin Butts is going off about, he says, by the way, before I get back to my thought, he says, don't get me started about this program. As many, my brother played baseball there before ECU. I didn't know that, Justin. So tell us about, he says, don't get me started about UNC Charlotte. So Justin, tell us about Charlotte, like your intel, your insight, because.
Yeah, well, I'm interested to hear what his thoughts are, but I just, look, I say embrace the hate. I'm fine with, you don't want to call it a rivalry game for this year, call it a rivalry game for this year.
Call it a rivalry game every year because there's no way in hell we should ever lose this game.
Well, that's not true. We're going to lose this game eventually. It's impossible for us not to lose the game if we're playing it every year as a conference game. But it don't need to be this year. We need to win desperately. They're coming into our house on homecoming, and we're in desperate need of a win. If we can't find a way to win this football game, we'll talk about that afterwards. Hopefully we won't have to have that conversation. But if we can't find a way to win this football game, and that's not. I'm not. I don't think we're that much better than Charlotte. That's the crime. That's the shame of it. But it's in our house. It's on homecoming, and we need a win. We better have some pride and find a way to win this game.
Kyle, the similarities, to your point, the similarities between these two teams is staggering. Yep. Both teams right now are using a 2-quarterback system. Both teams are playing really good defensive football, but terrible, like historically bad on offense.
Yep.
Right.
All right. So, like, there's a lot of similarities here between these two. The big difference is you have a coach in year 1 and a coach in year 5, and that's where I get frustrated that we're in this position in year 5.
You got a coach in year 5 that didn't prepare to be here for year 5.
But let me go back to that. That's a great point. But Matt knows as well as I do that Logan struggled in 1997. We did go 5-6.
Yeah, that's a big difference between going 5-6 and going 1-1. We
haven't gone 1-11. Let's not even go there until
I don't think, and hope we won't. But I don't see this team finishing 5-7.
I think there's a big difference between that team and this team, and I think that difference was at quarterback. And Danny Gonzalez was the quarterback that year in '97, and he hadn't played a lot because he was backing up Marcus Crandall. But make no mistake, Danny Gonzalez could throw the football.
Well, he had a cup of coffee in the league after that.
Yeah,
he was well coached. He was groomed. He had a very strong arm. So if you were able to have a guy like Danny Gonzalez at quarterback on this team, I would say you have a chance of turning the corner with this defense. But until we see something out of these quarterbacks, man, it's going to be a tough road.
Robert Dedrick makes a great point. Thank you, Robert, as always. He said, it's not just the play calling that's bad. In the words of John Gruden, we need to better effing. We need better effing execution. Multiple position groups are not playing well. Well said, Robert. I think that that's something that everybody wants to put it on Donnie K. I think, let's say hypothetically, that East Carolina could get the best offensive coordinator right now. I don't see that as the problem. I really don't. I think that I agree that we don't throw the deep ball. That's the number one thing.
What do you think the problem is? Because you don't think it's talent, and then you don't think it's the coordinator, and you don't.
I think they don't know how to win. I think that maybe you could argue that some of these guys, I think that they're extremely inexperienced. I think that's a big one for me. I do think the talent is there. I just think that it's extremely difficult to win. And when you have guys that already know how to win, like Holt Nailers, and
we don't look very talented on the offensive line.
The line, we do agree on that. The problem with the line is we don't have the depth at line. I think we have a few good offensive linemen, but overall, you're right. Being able to substitute those guys in would be fantastic.
You really don't sub on the O-line that much, Dave. That's one position you really don't sub that much on.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, but not much. We're not subbing enough at, to me, in my opinion, at receiver on the offensive side of the ball. And to me, it's been something that's bothered me for a while.
Yeah, and we do have more receivers that should be playing. I definitely agree with you 1,000% there.
Yeah,
especially if we have drops. I mean, you got to put guys in that. It's the same thing, Matt. Guys with you have a running back, and the guy, I don't care how great of an athlete, if he fumbles, he's going to be on the sideline. Same thing with a wide receiver. All those drop passes we've had, that would have helped Mason Garcia. Not to mention, we've talked about it a lot this year about all the penalties. So you have two inexperienced quarterbacks that are looking at 2nd and 12, 3rd and 14. Like these really second down or third down.
Oh, you go to the preset penalties, and that can that goes to two things.
But they can clean that up.
You got an experienced offensive line, and then you change your quarterbacks every 5 seconds, which changes the cadence, which makes it harder for the O line.
Right.
So you're going to continue with these preset penalties. It's like we're not doing things to fix the problem in games. You're making it more difficult. And I understand why we played 2 quarterbacks. But when you got a young O-line, they're already going to be susceptible to getting pre-snap penalties. And then you got a quarterback which changes the cadence and everything else, makes it more like, we're starting. Matt, you talked about how many drives we started on 1st and 15 or 2nd and 13 where we got a pre-snap penalty on 1st or 2nd down, or the first play went for a loss.
Well, we had 4 false starts on 1st down against SMU.
Unacceptable.
4. And so you're just killing yourself. I mean, you can't win like that. You can't do it. It happens every week.
Bubby, you play quarterback. How much does it affect the offensive line, particularly a young offensive line, having a different quarterback coming in, playing with 2 different quarterbacks with the cadence and those pre-snap penalties? How much do you think that is on switching the quarterback in and out?
Definitely could have something to do with it. Obviously there's certain ones. I'd say if the false starts that are because of or that are occurring by the lineman, it's more likely to at times perhaps be because of that. Because I remember when I was playing, whether it was myself or going to another quarterback, where you were dealing with 2 or 3 different cadences, especially like early in camp, where you were, where before they really started narrowing down the reps to just a couple guys, where you had 3 or 4 quarterbacks calling the snap count, you would see those false start penalties a lot more than you would once you narrowed it down to just the top 2 guys on the depth chart. Where the 3rd and 4th guys, pretty much you're just learning by osmosis, just learning by watching.
Yeah, Matt, with that, for example, with wide receivers, don't you agree though, the guys, with the fact that you have guys that are on the sidelines and you're competing? We hear about the competition with this program, so you hear about a competition with, say, with the wide receivers. Well, if you have guys that are on the first string that are dropping passes, don't you bring other guys in to say, hey, I don't care if you think you're the best, wide receiver on the team. You're dropping passes. We're going to let Johnny start over you.
Well, I'm all for open competition. Like, who's ever playing the best football deserves to play. I'm also in favor of letting players work through things to a certain extent. Like if you come out and drop a pass, I'm going to let you work through that. But if you drop 2 or 3 passes, now I need to make a move.
Right. I don't mean to be reactive.
Yeah. Right. No, I trust. I know exactly what you're saying. You make a good point. I just think there's a fine line between letting players work through some stuff. Now, Jari Patterson, he was starting earlier this year. He had some drops. He had a fumble. Really haven't seen his number called since. I mean, I
really like that kid too.
Yeah, I think he's got some potential, and no doubt about it, he's got potential. But what do you do with that situation? Do you cast him away for the rest of the year, or do you get him back out there and build his confidence? And if you feel like you have a playmaker, and I think that's where it gets difficult.
Yeah, he's one of the guys that like Sowell and there's others that are that should be playing, and Sowell's obviously playing, but when you mentioned Patterson, you're absolutely right. Unless he's doing something bad off the field, or certainly with the any kind of team rules or something like that, or academics is one thing. But I like that kid, and I hope that he can get some more playing time.
Something else along the lines of cadence that Craig Doucette brings up on Facebook. He says this might be the dumbest question of the year, but do we have a cadence, or is this the snap on a certain clap? I mean, that's something, Donnie Kirkpatrick mentioned that prior to going to Michigan when he was asked about, playing in front of 109 or 10,000 people at the Big House and how they were going about preparing for that. That's something that, that has, with the evolution of offensive football, and it's become more and more common, where teams are practicing with music, teams are operating out of the shotgun, and the cadence is, a lot of times, from not all teams, but a fairly large percentage, it is that clap. So I can't speak a whole lot about that, considering that's not the way we functioned when I was playing. But at the same time, I would think that would, probably at least decrease the odds of it being an issue as far as going from quarterback to quarterback. But something else that is an issue is obviously, that quarterback, and then with the help of the center, the things that they have to identify as far as identifying the mic and so forth, and the different calls now, going from quarterback to quarterback, and just making sure consistency there, because not as many reps, maybe one quarterback, is a little better, whatever the case may be.
Can a defensive player clap and try to throw off the offense, or is that a penalty?
That's funny. It's funny you bring that up. I can't remember if it was I think it was the App State Coastal Carolina game last Tuesday, so about a week and a half ago. I want to say it was App State got a penalty for simulating the snap count.
There you go. Well, that answers that question. It is a penalty.
Yeah. Justin Butts is a referee. He said it's a penalty. So
there you go.
I didn't know that. So I learned something tonight.
So if you got the clap, you can't give it to somebody else.
Wow.
I think it was. I think it may have been Coastal Carolina's. If it wasn't their first play from scrimmage, it was their first drive, I want to say. So yeah.
Let's just rewind this conversation back to the O-line for a minute if we can.
Okay.
I think one of the problems what I see from the O-line is that I think we have a strength problem on the O-line. I don't see us stonewalling people. I see us getting pushed back constantly. In one-on-one battles, we get pushed back. I think we have a strength problem.
So maybe we are weak, as the rumors are going around in Charlotte.
We're soft.
Well,
we're soft, Matt.
I mean, I think we need to look at that. I mean, I think we need more strength on the O-line. And I think Bubba and I were actually having this conversation about, the O-line is the foundation of everything you do as an offense, as a football team, really. And we might need to look at the type of bodies we're recruiting at O-line. Like, I don't know if you need a guard who's 6'6". You might want a guy who's 6'2", 6'3", and very strong inside. And, like I'm watching JMU right now. They have some shorter guys that are very strong and pretty effective blockers. We might want to revisit this. I don't know, it's great. Go out and get a kid who's 6'8", 320 pounds, but can he block anybody? Does he have feet? I think we need to really revisit our strategy on the O-line, who we're recruiting, the type of athlete we're recruiting. And because right now it's just not competitive.
Like you said, Matt, if you're 6'6", 325 on the O-line and you're not being offered by an SEC school, you might suck.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. There's no doubt. I mean, so I don't know, just something to consider. I mean, I'm just observing from what I see, but we just don't look very strong up front.
We don't seem to get a lot of push, and yeah, that's for sure. So I don't know, man. And Charlotte's D line's good. I'm telling you, we're out to win this one with defense. I don't. It is going to be a low scoring football game. I have a feeling.
I agree. If there was some way, like we were talking about early, Matt and Bubba, we're talking about the plays, but some X plays maybe that Charlotte can get beat on. Are there certain guys? I know that Kyle mentioned Josiah Hatfield. Are there some other guys that? How about if say like a Bond or a Gunn were healthy, and maybe you could have some kind of trick play for them?
Bubba made a good point the other day in text. If Gerald Green's back healthy, if we're going to truly run more speed option, he's got a lot of experience running option from Georgia Southern.
Oh, that's right.
How is Bubba? How fast is Green? What type of runner is he? Because I haven't really seen much out of him.
He's fast enough that he took one probably 50, 60 yards to the house against Nebraska last year.
That's pretty fast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then also against over the last 2 or 3 years, he had anywhere from like 400 to 550 yards per season. So I mean, he was coming in having rushed for about 1,500 yards, maybe over 1,500 yards in his college career for a decent, pretty good program with Georgia Southern, and then doing it against some pretty good competition. Yes, Nebraska has been down, but at the same time, you Troy, who's very good, and then others, Coastal Carolina. It seems like he had a good run against them, but some of those better programs in the Sun Belt.
He's supposed to be back healthy this week, right?
It was going into SMU. You heard that Marlon Gunn was ready. You heard that Gerald Green was close to being ready. So that was why I was thinking that he was probably going to be a go this week, but I have not heard for sure. As far as what B Pace is asking, how much has losing running backs coach Chris Foster to Northwestern, how much has that hurt?
It hadn't helped.
No, I would say, obviously, just what you hear, and then also, you're not being there on a daily basis or even at all, really, to amount to anything as far as practice. I would say that it's more just a product of the O-line situation, not the
and quarterback play.
And all the offensive problems, not the switch from Chris Foster to Raekwon Boyette.
Yeah, if we ain't gonna have Bond this week, and I hope we do have Bond, but even if we do have Bond, I'd like to see Foster on some of those option plays. just because he ran. You play at Georgia Southern, you'd ran some option football. I would imagine he.
Yeah, you mean Gerald Green?
Gerald Green. Who did I say?
Foster.
Who the hell's Foster?
Chris Foster.
Okay. Oh, okay.
You were thinking Foster.
And Chris Foster had coached at Georgia Southern, which was the connection.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I got
with
you.
getting Gerald Green to Greenville.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. So yeah, Green. Yeah, I'd like to see him. I would think he would know. I had nothing against Raji, but I think he'd be more effective on those speed option plays than Raji.
Yeah, like I said before, guys, I think that I told you guys, thinking group text, but for me, Raji is great when you're looking for those big 3rd down, 4th down, and 1, 2, something like that, to just run over people. But that's not his. I don't think that's his game. Having speed option or any of the like option plays. I just don't. I mean, I would be Matt. Don't you guys agree? Throwing it out to Raji. He's very good at catching the ball and maybe get some yards out of the catch. But as far as like, he's never been obviously the home run hitter anyway. So I would go for 3rd down, 4th down, special packages for him at the goal line. And then you have Gunn and Bond that are, home run hitters.
You've been listening to DK too much.
I really haven't.
No, I'm joking as far as Raji. Instead of because of that, they played on Pirate Radio. Yeah, it's not Raja, or whatever. It's Rajay. But now, sorry to cut you off, interrupt there. Go ahead, Matt.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, I don't know why Marlon Gunn's not getting more touches. He looked great in between the tackles last week in limited carries. He was running hard. He was dragging defenders. I don't understand that. The thing, and I agree, Dave, Raji, his best skill set is short yardage and goal line. He's very effective there. It's going to be tough for him behind this offensive line. Yeah. It's going to be tough for him behind this offensive line because he's a straight ahead runner. He likes to run people over. He's not a particularly shifty guy. Like, what we need right now is we need somebody like, I'll give you Kyle's favorite running back, Vintavious Cooper. I mean, you need somebody that when the line breaks down can make people miss, cut on the dime. Right, Kyle? I mean, talk about that.
Yeah, Cooper could cut on a dime. Cooper was always he didn't have breakaway speed, but he would make big plays because he could cut without slowing down. He never slowed down. Even though he didn't have Chris Johnson speed or even Marlon Gunn speed, he always, his motor never stopped running. He did not have to slow down to cut at all, and he had great vision, and he knew right when to cut. And that's my favorite kind of running back, as a matter of fact. That's why I love Cooper so much.
Think about that run he had to put away the Beef O'Brady's Bowl against Ohio U.
Oh yeah.
When he did make at least one, if not 2 or 3 tremendous cuts.
Yes, that's one. I can think of several. UNC. He had some good runs against them in 13 where he had some tremendous cuts in that game.
I was going to mention that game, Kyle. That's funny you mentioned that. I was just thinking UNC.
I remember watching Cooper. I'm pretty good. One thing I'm pretty good at judging is running back talent. And I remember watching Cooper play early in the season before he started starting in 13 and telling my wife, I said, he's our best running back. If he can learn, the offense and how to pass block, he's coming in here as an option quarterback transition into running back. And, in that UTEP game, we had guys suspended. I don't even remember our running back room that year in 2012, but we had guys suspended, and then we got a guy injured. And Cooper was basically the only guy left on the bench. And that's how he ended up being our starting running back because he showed out against UTEP, and the rest is history.
Yeah. Would love to see his ability
to Reggie Bullock.
Yes, Reggie Bullock. He was playing behind him. That's right.
Reggie Bullock. Sorry, yeah, Bullock was the
UNC basketball player.
Yeah, Kinston native in basketball. Reggie Bullock, and then that was also the 2012 season. Remember when we beat UCF? And you had can't believe I'm blanking on his name here. The Charlotte native. at running back from Ardrey Cale High School. I'll think of it here in a minute.
I don't think we beat UCF in 12. I think you're thinking 2011. 2011 in Greenville. Yeah.
Yes, Torrance Hunt. Yep,
Yeah.
2011.
Yep.
Night game, and Torrance Hunt broke that run toward the bone, or not toward the boneyard, toward the Murphy Center.
That game that night was fantastic atmosphere. I remember that game very well. We were playing to get in contention for bowl eligibility. The following week, we ended up losing to Marshall and not going bowling. But I remember that game having a really good atmosphere for what was a 4-win football team going into that game.
Zico Pursuit.
There you go. There's a name from the past.
Man, Bubba, you're amazing. Do you guys have any more thoughts before we go to the Charlotte beat writer?
We're going to go to him. How long's the interview, Bubba? Because I'm gonna dive out if we want to.
A little over about 20 minutes. A little over 20 minutes.
Well, I'm diving out. I don't know about the rest of you guys, and we'll just let the interview play. So we want to give our score predictions real fast.
I'll go first. I will say 28 East Carolina, and I'll say 28-21 East Carolina gets the win, and we're not going to fire Mike Houston at least this week.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little lower scoring than that. I'm going to go Pirates 17, 49ers 13.
Wow. All right. Hey, we get the win. That's the most important thing. Bubba or Matt? Bubba or Matt?
Go ahead, Bubba.
Go ahead, Matt.
I was going to say 7. Kyle, did you say 7-13? So you said 17-13?
Correct.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Wow, great minds think alike.
Well, you can stick with it. Just stick with it. We'll have the same score.
Yeah, I'll say that. And my final thought, in addition, before we pass it to Bubba here, since we were talking about movies, the movie Poltergeist is on AMC right now. Classic.
Oh, man.
Classic movie.
I love that. Oh, my God. And that the crazy thing about that movie is how many people, including Heather O'Rourke, the girl in there, how many of them died?
Yeah, it was cursed.
It's crazy. But I don't know if they've done I'm sure they probably have, but I haven't seen it. A documentary on Poltergeist.
Go to the light, Carol Ann.
Oh, man. That's great.
You woke up Carmelo.
Carol Ann.
That's awesome.
All right, Bubba, your score, or do you have any Poltergeist thoughts?
It's Robert says, are you going to have your victory celebration at Green Acres? If so, tell Mr. Bob I said hello. Actually, no, it's going to be at Porky's Backyard Barbecue, but I will spend some time out there with Mr. Bob and Miss Janice. They're great.
Bubba, your score?
Let's see. I'll go just to be a little different. I'll say 20-10.
Oh, you know what? Of all the scores, yours is my favorite. What was that comment about? Who was somebody said I'm going to be asleep tonight? Who was that?
Craig.
Craig.
Poltergeist.
I'm not going to be able to.
Craig, go towards the light. I'm a fat old lady psychic.
And a young Joe Beth Williams, guys. How about that?
Yes, sir.
I don't know who that is.
Gorgeous. She's the wife.
That's the mom. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't. Okay.
Kyle, just Google it. Google it up.
That was tremendous.
Is that Johnny Garner saying that there?
It's a classic.
Indeed.
Robert Matthews says over under on
That will
passes over
always
20
be
yards.
a classic.
Over under on passes over 20 yards. I'm gonna take the under.
Definitely the
Well,
under.
you're asking for a number. For us, or just combined, I'm going to say combined 10. Each team will have. We'll have 6. They'll have 4.
All right. Brandon says it'll be 10-3 ECU. That's his prediction.
I could see that 10-3. I could see that.
Yeah, if you're saying there's going to be 10 passes over 20 yards in this game, I think I'll take the under.
No,
You're
he's
taking the under.
saying the
Okay,
score.
I'm gonna set the over under at 10, and you're gonna take the under. Okay.
No, Dave, Kyle was talking about the number of
Oh, okay,
passes
earlier.
over
Oh,
20,
okay.
and that 6 for us and 4 for them.
Oh, okay.
That's
I got
right.
you.
You're gonna take the under. All right.
I'm trying to think back to 6 passes every 20 yards for us all year.
Yeah, I don't
Well,
remember that.
You make a good point, Bubba. Maybe I
Yeah.
think you're under a little.
I know it's happened, but not by much.
Let's let's hope that the guys just like you said, this is the North Carolina Barbecue Bowl in Greenville. We finally get it.
No, it's the battle for the gold. I already told Bubba we're gonna make this a trophy game since we're the Pirates and they're the 49ers. It's the battle for all the gold.
For the speaking of which, one more thing. Matt, did you hear about the Greenville Summer League wooden baseball team? Did you see that? Where one of the finalists,
all our players are going to be made of wood.
Yeah, the name is the Greenville Booty.
No, that's not the name. That was one of the proposed names. The proposed names is the Booty.
I know, but I'm saying
they're playing. That's a pirate word. This word's coming.
I know it is.
But it's funny. I like peg legs. Peg
leg is what I'm going with. The Greenville peg legs.
I like peg legs.
What about you, Matt? Did you see that, Bubba?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't love any of them, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah,
just being honest, I'm not a fan.
Says Outer Banks already have the scallywags.
That is correct, Robert. Thank you very much.
But are they part of the Coastal Plain League?
They're not, but they're part of the Old North State League. There's a whole bunch of teams in North Carolina.
How about they do this? What if they called them the Greenville Pirates? I mean, what a concept.
I don't have a problem with
it. They can make their colors purple and gold. I mean, and really try to play to the East Carolina fans that are already there.
Yeah. I mean, how that would be a lot of confusion, though, don't you think?
No, if you get that confused with East Carolina, you're probably mentally handicapped.
All right. So I think
like Robert Matthews says, and he said it's we talked about some of the mind-boggling statistics with our offense and specifically our passing game or lack thereof. Through 6 ball games, 2 touchdown passes. We don't have a quarterback with multiple touchdown passes as Mason and Alex.
We will this week.
1 apiece, and we don't have a receiver with a touchdown.
That's amazing.
Well, that's insane.
Shane Calhoun with the receiving touchdown against Marshall, and then you had Rajay Harris.
I expect a big game out of Calhoun this week with Savage back to take some load off of him. I expect to see Calhoun make some plays in the passing game this week. So to get to that 17 points, I say we're going to score.
Savage can help. He can help. He's got some talent, and he's a big target. I would definitely try to get him involved.
He's at least going to give Calhoun a rest.
Yep.
No doubt. No doubt. All right, guys, do you have anything else? And then we'll go to our interview with the Charlotte beat writer.
Nope.
Got nothing else. Better win Saturday. That's all I'll say. There's must wins. To me, this is a better win.
We'll call it the Tussy Bowl. We're giving a lot of love to Tussy tonight.
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
I'm almost sorry I started that before the show.
I think it's hilarious. I have never. I'm very lost. I thought that.
Yeah, well, it made sense once you figured out what it was. I said I was gonna give Coach Poggi some Tussy, and none of them knew what I was talking about. They had to look it up, but. Everybody don't know he doesn't wear sleeves, and you can see his armpits all the time during the game.
Yeah,
so
that's what made it funny. Once I realized what you're talking about, I had no idea.
Yeah, it's dollar store deodorant. It's called Tussy.
Tussy, come here.
So
Tussy.
if you're in section 17, 18, and you hear somebody screaming about Tussy on Saturday afternoon, you know it's Kyle Barber.
I'm going to get thrown out because they're thinking I'm calling the coach something else.
Unsportsmanlike behavior by Kyle Barber.
Yeah.
All right, good luck to the Pirates. Again, Saturday afternoon, homecoming, 2:00. Let's get a win so we don't have to worry about firing him. And maybe Biff Poggi can talk about sup dogs and be more worried about that than the ball game. Matt, Bubba, Kyle, thank you so much. Bubba, I'll pitch it to you now.
Yeah, Matt and I had the opportunity, as it turned out, I had some different things going on this afternoon that I had to take care of. Matt carried the interview, and I appreciate him doing so with the Charlotte 49ers beat writer Hunter Bailey. And let's go to that conversation with Hunter Bailey right now. 49ers beat writer and Highway 49 podcast host, and that is Hunter Bailey. Hunter, welcome back.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me back.
Hunter, how you doing, my friend? Thank you so much for taking some time today to speak with us. And obviously an interesting game when you look at it from the perspective that Charlotte, for the first time, is heading into Greenville. And obviously now we are both in the same conference together in the American Conference, and the start of a new series for us. And first of all, appreciate you coming on. And what are your thoughts, Hunter, as you look at this game and the opportunity heading into Greenville?
Absolutely. I think this game is exciting for Charlotte in particular because they've never really had kind of an in-state rival, whether it be conference, out of conference. They've had some games with App State. I think they've played 3 times. A couple of them were decently close, but App State beat them all 3 times. So it's not a rivalry until one, or at least both sides are competitive. And I think this could be the start of something fun. Biff Poggi says it's not a rivalry yet. Hopes it will be. Thinks it brings a lot of, fun atmosphere for the fans. Sells a lot of tickets. 3-4 hour drive to the game. Should be a lot of green and gold as well as purple. I'm looking forward to it, man. Looking forward to getting down there. I've never been to Greenville.
Absolutely, Hunter. And you mentioned Biff Poggi, and certainly an interesting personality when you look at him and his press conferences. And like I mentioned to you, kind of jokingly before the show, Hunter, you see the attire, you see the cutoff sleeves, and obviously a down to earth guy. But then when you listen to him in press conferences, a likable guy, seems to be, again, down to earth, that type of guy that players can relate to. How is he adjusting to Charlotte, and how are the fans adjusting to him?
Definitely. Just talking to him, I haven't had a ton of kind of one-on-one time with him, but when I have, genuine dude, could tell he really loves his family and then his players. He talks about all the time the kids keep him young, and yeah, as far as how he's taking to Charlotte, like I say, he loves his team, and he seems to really really like his staff, despite some kind of, after the Georgia State game in week 3, it kind of was like a war path, like all hell might break loose. But he's since kind of walked that back. He said on Tuesday at the presser he's in good cheer. You can't really hide from being 1-5. Year one is you expected a little bit more honestly, you expected a lot more based off of all the preseason talk. And you've seen some flashes. They hang with Maryland early. They're up 14-0, lose that game. They keep it close with Florida. And then Navy, they just couldn't put any points on the board in that one last week. So you've seen, I'll call it like glimpses of a solid team competing in the AAC, and then lapses of average. And I think it's part of what happens when you try and add 70 new players to a roster and bring back 50 from a previous regime, try and get everyone to mesh together. And because just from the personal aspect, if you were a sophomore and you thought, hey, next year's my year, and then you get a new staff, get recruited over, and now you're on the bench again for your junior year. Obviously, we're all people. I think that plays a little bit of a role in some of this. And then you take some losses, 5 in a row, and you're kind of wondering where the locker room is at going into a game like this.
Absolutely. And the one thing you'll say to that is that Biff has had essentially one off season and was very active, as you mentioned, very active in the portal and really turned over the roster. And the one thing I'll say is, when you look at Charlotte and East Carolina, you're talking about two teams that really struggle offensively, to say the least. And I'm putting it mildly. But defensively, two teams that are very solid, in my opinion. And I'm pretty impressed with the fact that what Coach Poggi was able to do in one offseason, bringing in all the new personnel. And, like you mentioned, this is a team that, played very well against Maryland, very solid team for the Big Ten, pushed Florida late into the fourth quarter. So what are your thoughts? Let's start with the defense, Hunter. Tell us who to look out for there, who are some kind of, the studs defensively, and what we're looking at there.
Definitely. Ryan Osborne, the defensive coordinator, he's the real deal. He's the best I've been around at Charlotte since starting to cover the team back in 2018. Glenn Spencer, you got to mention him as well. But the defense is much improved. I think they've climbed like 50 spots from last year. They're giving up almost 15 points per game less than a year ago, hundreds of yards less. They're getting a lot more pressure on the quarterback, having multiple sack games from quite a few different players. And then kind of the star of it, the two stars I will say, is Yabi Okianoma. He started his career at Alabama. He's been around a lot. Alabama, went to Houston, went JUCO, went to Michigan, and chose to follow Poggi to Charlotte for his final season. He's the star of the defensive line for sure. At the next level, you've got Nakai Hill-Green, another Michigan transfer. Also played for Poggi at St. Francis in high school. And that kind of speaks to the loyalty thing we talked about with Poggi earlier. Those are the two guys. And then you've got some kind of ancillary pieces like Demetrius Knight is another linebacker. We've seen a lot of good things from Dante Balfour, the corner. And then Stone Handy on the edge as well. They've got the biggest weakness for this defense has been the big play. They've given up, I think it's a 98-yard touchdown, a 97-yard run. Against Navy, they were solid almost the entire game. It was two big plays. It was like a 69-yard deep ball, kind of a deep post. It was just like a perfect pass. And then they gave up dive on the triple option for like a 61 or 62-yard touchdown. Outside of that, there was a long period of the game where Navy had 8 or less yards on like 7 of their first 9 drives or something. So the defense, gone from what I've covered from the past few years where I felt like I was just writing the same story, like Charlotte, how many points can they score to win the game? Now it's kind of flipped to, can Charlotte's defense score or special teams score, because the offense can't. So that kind of speaks to the defense right now.
Yeah, and that's how Navy typically wins games. Everybody wants to talk about the triple option, but usually you're going to see once or twice a game they're going to go play action and they're going to take a deep shot, and they're very effective at that. And they actually beat East Carolina like that last year in a game in Greenville where ECU held them down largely throughout the game, but they hit one play action deep ball for probably a 65, 70-yard touchdown. And that's all it takes. But definitely a good performance by the Charlotte defense. Again, I think you're going to see two defenses that are very solid. I think this is going to be an ugly game. When you look at it, it's going to come down to, in my opinion, a big play, possibly like you mentioned on either side, or it could come down to a special teams play or a turnover. I think it's going to be that close that it could come down to the team that makes the fewest errors. So Hunter, how about offensively? Tell me about this team. Kind of fill us in on the type of offense they run, the system, and based on that, where do you think they're going? Like, what do they want to look like offensively?
That's a great question, man. When Poggi came, the question, or like his introductory press conference, he said we're going to run the ball. We want to be two tight end offense, bring the Big Ten to Charlotte, power run, then open it up for play action. He said, I don't care if everyone in the building knows what we're doing. We want to be able to run the ball. And I think we saw that some at the beginning of the season, and I think that they've realized that they don't have the personnel on the offensive line. Plus, they're dealing with quite a few injuries there to really be a kind of power rushing team. And then the biggest struggle has been they don't have a consistent quarterback. And You talk Jalen Jones, talk Trexler Ivy, switching back and forth. Last week, the wrinkle was it was Trexler Ivy's game, and Jalen Jones played receiver. Didn't work. It was very ineffective. And I assume Jalen Jones will return and be the starting quarterback this week, following 0 points and just 265 yards of total offense. But as far as what they want it to look like, I think it's still they want to run the ball on early downs. They want to set up third and manageables rather than third and long. And for an offense, Charlotte is literally dead last in the nation on third down conversions with, I think it's 23.5%. And it's because all their third downs are 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11, whether it be penalties, taking a sack early, or running the ball 2 times in a row, getting stuffed, and then realizing it's 3rd and 8. The offense has been the most troublesome aspect. And when you look at it, they don't have a ton of weapons. Now, the best running back on the team, Darrell Robinson, is out for the year, dealing with an ankle. They don't have any of the 3 receivers that they had last year. Grant Dubose, who's in the NFL now, Elijah Spencer, who transferred to Minnesota, and then Victor Tucker, who graduated. And they're relying on kind of a hodgepodge of receivers. Early in the year, they expected Jaden Bradley, a Pittsburgh transfer, to be kind of the number 1 option. He has not played hardly at all. Then Jack Estera has been the best receiver. He was a walk-on at Colorado, transferred in. He dealt with an injury last week. It sounds like he'll be good to play on Saturday, but still to be determined. So I think the issue is you really don't have a quarterback that you feel good about. Jalen Jones is more of a runner. Trexler Ivy's more of a passer, but even he's looked ineffective through the air at times. And your running game isn't what you want it to be. So that's kind of what I say. I mean, 15.3 points per game for Charlotte, 128th in the nation. You can't win like that unless it's going to be, as you say, just like muddy up the game, hit a big play at some point, and hope that your special teams or defense kind of bails you out.
Absolutely, Hunter. And, I'll tell you, I would not want to be a Las Vegas odds maker for this game because this is, and it's remarkable when you really look at it. I'm listening to everything you're saying. You have 2 teams that are virtually identical. I mean, it's very bizarre. I mean, the record obviously is the first thing that jumps out. Both teams at 1-5, but 2 teams that are just very inept offensively and struggling to find their identity. Defensively very similar. And, obviously, I think you mentioned before the show, the over and under for this game is 40 or 40.5. So anticipating a very low scoring ball game. I mean, I think that what you're going to see is the teams who score or the team who scores is going to be the one that gets short fields. So, if you can pin back, Charlotte, if you're ECU and you pin back Charlotte deep in their own territory and maybe you take over at midfield, I think that's where you're going to see, scoring opportunities for the most part. But it's definitely it's not going to be one for ESPN Classic. I'm pretty confident saying that.
Definitely, man. One thing I do want to say too about Charlotte's offense is last week specifically watching that. It was just like tough to watch. I tweeted out, if this is the first football game you've ever seen, I'm sorry. Like, if you love defense, that one might be for you. But Charlotte's offense was run, end up in 3rd and 7, and then take a deep shot. If it wasn't that, it was tight end screen, run, don't get the 3rd down conversion, reset. And I don't know what you got to do as an offensive coordinator, whether it's having drags, crossing routes, mesh concepts, quick reads to get the ball out of your quarterback's hand and get it to a playmaker. Like, Charlotte does have some speed at receiver with Jairus Mack, and then, as I mentioned, Hystera. But they got to get these guys the ball. And there isn't like a true deep threat. There isn't someone that's going to go and make a 50-50 ball, a 80-20 on this team. So their only real deep connection of the season was for a touchdown at Maryland, and it was on the opening drive. And we haven't really seen anything like that since. So the big play, the biggest thing for Charlotte is going to be defending the big play, because that's taken them out of 2 or 3 games this year. Is just like you play good defense, and then boom, they hit a 70-yarder, and it just kind of deflates you, takes the wins out of your sails type of thing.
Yeah, no doubt, Hunter. And I mean, taking a look at Charlotte offensively, I mean, and, obviously without giving any, trade secrets or anything like that, I mean, what do you think the game plan will be offensively? I mean, do you think it's just going to be to try to stay out of trouble, move the chains when possible and just play defense behind it? I think, that's how I envision this game going for Charlotte.
Definitely. I think they go back to Jalen Jones. Like I say, I've been traveling this week for work, so I haven't been able to go out to practice. But if I'm Mike Miller, the OC, I watched the tape back and I looked at what Trexler Ivy did on Saturday. I mean, you're talking 3 turnovers, 2 interceptions, and a strip sack. One of the interceptions was just one of those balls that you have no idea how it got thrown. I think you go back to Jalen Jones. I mean, you look at the stats, he's the leading rusher from the quarterback position. So you know you're going to see a lot of option from him, a lot of designs. And as Poggi said, he's Charlotte's eraser, and he means kind of the equivalent of, like I said, turning a 50-50 into an 80-20. That's what he thinks Jalen Jones is, athleticism-wise. He's Charlotte's fastest, most explosive player on the field, and they got to get him the ball. So if that's, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if this dude was taking handoffs on Saturday. I think they keep trying to throw wrinkles in to surprise teams. Like I said, Jalen Jones was playing receiver last week, something to spark the offense. But I think it's get the ball to Shattered Bird and Teron Kelman, get the tight end screen game going with Colin Weber, try and find some short underneath passes to Hystera and Jairus Mack, and then a heavy dose of Jalen Jones quarterback design QB runs and options. That's, like I say, if I was the OC, this is what I'm working with. That's what I'm going with, man.
Gotcha. Now, Hunter, talk to me a little bit about the mindset of this team coming into Greenville for the first time. I mean, obviously you have 2 teams that certainly, and I don't say this disparagingly at all. I mean, Charlotte is newer to FCS football and, FBS football. And, obviously first year in the American Conference, heading into Greenville, who, it's a program that's been, in the conference for a while. And I'm sure, you have to believe as a player on Charlotte, you're coming into this game jacked up. It's a in-state opponent. It's a conference opponent now. What kind of mood do you get from this team as they head into Greenville?
Yeah, I think right now I wouldn't really use the word desperate, but Poggi said it the other day. They need a win, and when you look at this, you win your first game against an FCS. You lose 5 in a row. A couple of them felt like you could have won, maybe even should have won, but here you are. You're 1-5, and now you're going against a team that you've never played before, at a stadium you've never been, and it's in state. I can't tell you how many of these kids' players or these players' families are going to make this trip, and friends. Like when you can't spit in Charlotte without hitting an ECU or App or North Carolina alone. So it's to have a game against a program like this, and it's exciting. And then you add on top of it a little bit of the history with Mike Houston. It was rumored back in 2018, or he had been offered the job, and then he tells Mike Hill, Charlotte's athletic director, that he's considering other options. Mike Hill rescinds the offer. Houston takes over at ECU. Charlotte hires Will Healy soon after. So there's a little bit, I wouldn't call it like bad blood or anything, but there's a little bit of history between the athletic department and then Houston. And so maybe that's a fun storyline for the rivalry or whatever you want to call it going into this game. But I think the team's fired up. I think that they know there's winnable games in the back half. And I mean, we talked about it. This is, from what we've seen Charlotte this season, is muddying up a game and just keeping it close into the fourth quarter is their best chance to win. And this seems like a game like that because, I mean, I think you and I both know, unless Vegas is just wildly wrong, like I do not expect a shootout on Saturday.
No doubt. I mean, I think I want to say this game opened at 9 or possibly 9.5. And then now, last I saw, it's at 6.5. So, obviously you're going to give, I think you're going to give 3 points to the home team. And then, so I think the line is reasonable. I actually would put it, if I was, picking the line on this game, I would say it would be right around 3.5 is where I would put it, because I think you have two, virtually identical teams. But what do I know? So Hunter, how many fans are you anticipating bringing to Greenville for this game?
Wish I had a number for that, man. I expect it's going to be a lot. I know that this one was circled. I did kind of a poll when the season started and put games that you're most excited about. I had a couple of them being Maryland and Florida, being big road trips to Power Fives. But the overwhelming answer was this game. I think everyone thought going in that neither one of these teams would be 1-5 at this point. At least have a couple more wins. But hey, man, I don't know what we're calling this game. I think the Booty Bowl is the best one that I've heard. And so I mean, let's see, man. Well, I think it'll be a good turnout for sure.
I'll call it Battle of the Inept Offenses. How about that?
Yeah,
but
that works, man.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this, and this is the benefit of having teams regionally. It does create some excitement for fans, and obviously the fact that you can bring potentially 3,000 to 5,000 fans to this game, obviously just adds to the excitement of it. So that's the beauty of the playing regional opponents, I think, and you never know how this is going to go down. I mean, this could be the type of series that becomes dare I use the word rivalry over the years, but you never know exactly how that's going to play out. So it's certainly going to be interesting to watch unfold. Hunter, a few more questions and we'll get you out of here. Any big plans when you come to Greenville? Anything you're looking to do here? Any restaurants? What do you got going on?
I'm not 100% sure yet, man. I've always heard good things about Sup Dog, so I think I'll definitely stop by.
Biff did too. Biff did too.
I heard about that. That was a good clip. Normally I'm at the press conferences on Tuesday, but like I said, I was on some travel this week. But definitely, I'm just interested to kind of see the environment. Like I say, I've never been. Cousin of mine went there. A lot of friends of mine went there, but definitely kind of looking forward to see what it's like for sure.
Yeah, I hope you have a good time. I think you'll be impressed. I mean, Greenville is a great college town. The stadium is really, and I'm obviously biased having played for the Pirates, but it's a beautiful grass surface. The field plays fast. It's a really great environment, especially when ECU is winning. I don't think you're going to get nearly the full effect this weekend based on the records. Because obviously, hey, if you're a fan, you do get turned off a little bit by 1-5 teams, but hopefully you're able to get a good experience, enjoy the environment. Definitely go to Sup Dogs, enjoy that. And before we get you out of here, Hunter, tell us a little bit about how Pirate fans can find you, can follow your work, and maybe a Twitter handle, etc.
Definitely. Twitter is at Hunter_Bailey45. I host the Highway 49 podcast, and all Charlotte 49ers writing is for the Charlotte Observer. And then I just started covering the Charlotte Hornets for the Charlotte Post. So we're going to see how that goes. But yeah, appreciate you guys having me on, and definitely follow along.
Absolutely, Hunter. I hope you have a great trip. I appreciate you, and I know Bubba does as well, hopping on here for 15, 20 minutes. And, hey, let the best man win, right?
I think it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be ugly, but it's going to be fun.
All right, man. Hey, thanks again, buddy. You take care.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
There you have it. Hunter Bailey, the Charlotte 49ers beat writer for the Charlotte Observer, also the host of the Highway 49 podcast. Appreciate him coming back on the show to discuss this weekend's homecoming matchup between East Carolina and the Charlotte 49ers, the first time these programs have ever met on the gridiron. In addition to that, appreciate everyone tuning in, and we'll certainly have the Pirate football playback on Sunday night, hopefully taking a look at the Pirates' second win of the season. And also we had content throughout the week. Last night, Just Another Sports Podcast, episode 11, Kyle and Stevie caught up with Andrew Bays, All-American punter for the Pirates back in the 90s. Andrew, of course, is the color analyst alongside Jim Zoki on the road games or for the road games. And very interesting to hear his thoughts in the midway point of the 2023 season. On Monday, Jeff Connors on Absolute Empowerment, the former ECU strength coach, called up with Sam Sears, Dr. Sam Sears of the ECU School of Psychology, specifically talking about the psychology as it pertains to cardiac patients and cardiac rehabilitation. And then earlier this evening, we had Sonny and Semenza taking a look at week 8 of college football, some of the top games, including and really highlighted by Penn State traveling in the Horseshoe to take on Ohio State. You also have Alabama and Tennessee, obviously a very long-going, tradition-rich rivalry that this year is being played at Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa. They also talked about one of the big games out west, USC coming off that very sound defeat that they suffered at Notre Dame last weekend. I believe 49-20. Caleb Williams, threw 3 picks against the Fighting Irish, and the Trojans are going to be looking to bounce back at the Coliseum as they are hosting 14th ranked Utah. What will be a very interesting matchup. Obviously, the Utes got the best of the Trojans twice last year in the regular season and in the Pac-12 championship game. They are, I want to say, a touchdown dog, either a 6.5 or 7-point dog as they head to the Coliseum this weekend. I definitely would take them to cover, and it won't shock me if they win the football game. But, for everyone here at the Sports Objective, we appreciate you tuning in. Be sure to follow us on social media, on X at the Sports OBJ, on Instagram and TikTok at the Sports Objective. Like and follow us on Facebook, and, of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. For the Sports Objective team, I'm Bub Rosenbaum. We'll talk to you soon, and as always, go Pirates.